Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Croneo region, my Pokémon region based on Scotland. If you've seen my map video, which if you haven't, please do after watching this video, you will have noticed certain temples dotted around in the region. As I alluded to in the plot video, again, watch it after this video if you haven't already, these temples house the Regis, also known as the legendary Titans. But Matt, I hear you ask, what do the Regis have to do with Scotland? I don't really have an answer for that, nor do I need to. In more recent games, it usually has something to do with the place the region's geography is based on, but they can play loose with it. I've done this with Croneo, by having Canadian Mon referencing Croneo being the new Crown Tundra, as it were, and Mon being made to fit certain characters more than Scottish or Canadian culture. Since I've brought up the Crown Tundra, this can be seen as a further link or expansion, since the area is kinda based on Scotland, but not as much in depth as I would have wanted. Speaking as a Scottish fan. As for why they introduced the new Regis at all, I think there's enough to discuss there for it to be its own video, so I'll omit that here. Whatever reasons that apply there, apply here too. The main reason I felt like making my Regis is because I really liked the ideas and themes I had for them, some of which tie in with the time motif Croneo has going on. All of the Regis that aren't Regigigas are based on time periods after all, and mine aren't different. Before I get into them, I will briefly mention where you'd find the established ones. Regirock is housed in Rock Peak Ruins found near Gosfort, Regice is housed in Iceberg Ruins, which is found on the top of Ben Cairn, Registeel is housed in the Iron Ruins, found on a patch of land looking over Loch Prass, Regieleki and Regidrago are housed in the Split Decision Ruins, which is found on Westwake Island. You can only obtain one per playthrough, like in Sword and Shield. However, you get clues to specifically find Regidrago in Agate and Regieleki in Obsidian, but because the temple is all about your own choice, you could still solve it to obtain either, just not both. Finally, Regigigas is found in Azamori Temple, which can only be entered to find the Titan once all 9 Regis are registered in the Dex, with 6 of them being in your party. Naturally, once you're in the room with Regigigas, you can remotely enter your PC and switch into the team you want. I am introducing 4, with different time periods being represented. Time for the first one, Regiheat, a fire type, representing the distant past. If we're wanting to say what age it's from, I guess we could say it's the prehistoric age? I know that applies to the Gen 3 Regis as well, but Regiheat represents something much earlier. It isn't made of lava, as you may initially suspect, but actually primordial ooze, which is essentially a bacterial soup that came out of the meteors that came to Earth in its early years. Primordial ooze was the progenitor of all life. The bacterial mix plus massive exposure to heat and radiation caused a chemical reaction that created all future life on the planet, whether that be plant, animal, or anything. So why is it a fire type? Clues in the name. Regiheat. The Pokémon is the heat, since I wanted it to reference the spark of life. Its ability is Flame Body, since its entire being is so visibly hot to the touch that it makes sense that any contact would inflict the burn status. I decided to try and make the eyes look a bit like a candle, since both candles and Regiheat have an exposed flame. If you don't see the resemblance, I did say I tried. 7 dots is hard to work with. You would find Regiheat in the distant ruins, near the Westwake Ruins area, in Pokemon Agate. Now I'll have to let you wait a bit longer for the other Titan that resides here, due to me covering them all in chronological order. Don't worry, I'll get back to it later in the video. Moving ahead in time by a lot, we have the Renaissance. If we had the creation of life, why not see life's creations? A lot of art and technological concepts were created during this time. Some out of stone, some out of wood. We already have Regirock, so why not Regiwood? I know some other Pokémon creators have done a Regi made of wood, but here's my take. As I said, I took inspiration from the creations from the Renaissance, specifically from Leonardo da Vinci. I just thought that his helicopter would make a very striking Regi. As you can tell, it's made of wood and paper, which justify its grass typing. And since it's a helicopter, it can spend a lot of time off the ground, meaning it has levitate, granting it ground type immunity. You may be wondering about its legs. Well, they're for it to balance while it's not flying about. I also think they'd be thick enough to withstand an earthquake, and even if not, they can be replaced. The Pokémon itself is the helicopter. It can replace its body parts like Regirock, really. The foliage present is not just to reinforce the fact that it's alive and grass type, but also it can almost have toes and leave footprints. It's the artist's idea. But yes, we needed to reinforce the grass type, since some may think it looks too much like a flying type. All of Regigigas' creations are typed after the elements they're made from, so that's why I made it grass type, since it's made of wood. Although the additional foliage was needed to reinforce that. Regi wood has my favourite eye pattern that I made. It is shaped like an arrow pointing up, since it's a helicopter and can fly, but it's also shaped like a pine tree. Pine trees are very common in Scotland, although I will admit that's more of a coincidence. It's the easiest tree shape to make with 7 dots. You can find it in the contemporary ruins, located on the outer of the Luring Islands, in Pokémon Agate. So we've had 2 past Regis, time for 2 future ones. Meet Regi Hydro, a water type based on hydrogen engines. This is because it represents the renewable age, where we hopefully try to sustain life without also ensuring its destruction. Hydrogen-powered buses aren't uncommon in Scotland, and act as a replacement for traditional fossil-fueled power buses. What's relevant here is that hydrogen engines tend to have water vapour as their waste product, so I decided it would fittingly complete the Firegrass water trio, with slight creative liberty. Since water is a fluid, it can form water limbs, and can act as a solid with a change in pressure. Plus, I think that since the Regi is the hydrogen itself, and hydrogen is very tied with water as an element, it should be water type. I decided to give it the ability Drizzle, since with all that water it needs to expel, it would cause a spot of rain. My thinking here is that we already have Registeel, so despite being made from metal, it can't really be steel type, but Regieleki shows that that doesn't matter. The metal contains the element that makes up both the Regi Hydro and Regieleki. I used similar logic for the ooze in Regiheat's design after all. I wanted the eyes to be shaped like a water molecule. Again, 7 dots are hard to work with. You can also find it in the contemporary ruins, but this time in Pokémon Obsidian. Let's make our way back to the distant ruins. In Pokémon Obsidian, you'll be able to encounter the Psychic Regi, Regi Psych. As you might be able to tell, it is based on the monolith from 2001: A Space Odyssey, since I wanted to evoke themes of the cosmic unknown and the existential dread that comes from it, since the time period that Regi Psych draws inspiration from is the Space Age. I felt this made sense for a Psychic type, since the majority of space-themed Pokémon are Psychic type. What lurks in deep space? Will we find aliens? An intelligence we cannot comprehend? Materials completely different to that we find on Earth? Is it possible that we may find the origins of life on our own planet? Whether that be shared genetic heritage, chemicals that unlock the secrets of our molecular structure, or just simply have found God. Whatever that may be, should we know the answer? When it comes to science fiction, I love stuff like this, but I never want to know the answers, since the questions are way more interesting. So I have decided to give it Beast Boost as an ability, which will make people ask questions about the origins of Regipsyche. Naturally, the obelisk itself is shrouded with a cloud of psychic energy, which is actually shaped like a brain. It almost has a universe of its own encased inside of it. It uses its intense cognitive powers to use other rocks, some of which have been known to have psychic properties. Regipsyche uses them as limbs. As for its eye pattern, it's a straight line. I thought it complemented the shape, and almost makes it look even more like a computer than the Regis kinda do. This is also to softly reference HAL 9000 from Space Odyssey, since it is also a hyper-intelligence from the future. So, to recap their themes, Regiheat is the prehistoric age, Regi Wood is the Renaissance, Regi Hydro is the renewable age, and Regi Psych is the space age. Distant past, recent past, near future, and distant future respectively. The 2 past ones are exclusive to Pokémon Agate, and the 2 future ones are exclusive to Pokémon Obsidian. The 2 distant ones share a ruin, and a soft theme of the creation of life, and the 2 contemporary ones also share a ruin and the soft theme of life's creations. 3 of them are the starter trio types, although that was mostly coincidental, but all of them have distinct abilities which affect different aspects of battle. Flame Body affects status ailments, Levitate affects type effectiveness, Drizzle affects the weather, and Beast Boost affects stats. Thank you so much for watching. Check out the artists on screen, as well as my links in the description. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe as well. I'll see you next time.